Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is arguably one of the absolute most inspiring underdog stories in all of sports history. We're talking about a guy who defied literally unimaginable hardship to carry a tiny nation to football's biggest possible stages. Of course, I'm talking about Luka Modric. And guys, we might really be witnessing the end of an era here.
To really feel the weight of this story, we got to drop you right onto the pitch at the 2026 World Cup. It just ended in total, devastating heartbreak for Croatia. Picture this, a grueling 2-1 defeat against Portugal, punctuated by this incredibly dramatic late equalizer that, get this, gets ruled out by VAR for offside at the very last second. I mean, imagine the emotional whiplash, right? You've got the celebration, the absolute peak of hope, and then instantly erased. With that one single call, Croatia's World Cup dream was just over.
And that brutal moment leaves the entire footballing world asking one really heavy question. Has Luka Modric played his final World Cup? Now sure, he hasn't officially announced his international retirement just yet, but the reality is definitely setting in that this was likely his last dance on football's greatest stage. But to truly grasp why this goodbye feels so monumental, why the respect for this man spans the entire globe, we have to flash back. We need to look at exactly where this incredible journey began.
Section 1. Forged in War. From a childhood refugee to football greatness.
You see, Modric was born in Croatia during a time of really brutal conflict, so his childhood was essentially defined by survival. He spent a huge chunk of his early life as a refugee, and he faced the absolutely tragic loss of his grandfather to the war. But here's the wild part. Amid the total chaos of living in a literal war zone, his dream of becoming a footballer wasn't just some fleeting distraction. It was his lifeline. Playing in those war-torn streets built this incredible situational awareness and pure resilience that would totally define his playstyle later on.
But because of his small frame, a lot of early coaches completely wrote him off. They literally told him he was too small, too frail, and just didn't have the physical strength you need for pro football. Well, spoiler alert, they couldn't have been more wrong. That same frail kid would eventually win a Ballon d'Or, cementing himself as one of the greatest, most technically gifted midfielders in the entire history of the sport. The contrast between those early doubts and his massive eventual reality, it's just an unbelievable testament to his spirit.
Moving on to Section 2. Rise of a Legend. Conquering European football.
So his club evolution is basically a masterclass in steady, undeniable progression. Phase 1 was proving his brilliant talent back home at Dinamo Zagreb. That inevitably catches the eyes of the Premier League, leading right into Phase 2. He takes on a grueling, fast-paced stint with Tottenham Hotspur, brilliantly adapting his game to the sheer physicality of English football. And then, the ultimate destination, Phase 3, joining the Spanish giants Real Madrid. It's just the perfect step-by-step evolution of a world-class talent.
And at Real Madrid, he didn't just play, okay? He conquered. 5. That is the staggering number of UEFA Champions League titles he orchestrated from Madrid's midfield. 5. He was literally the vital engine powering this unparalleled dynasty of European dominance, picking up a massive pile of domestic and international trophies along the way.
But 2018, that was when he did something truly mind-blowing on an individual level. He won the Ballon d'Or. Remember, for an entire decade before this, the footballing world was locked in this massive duopoly. Every single year, the award went to either Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. It felt genuinely impossible to break. But the guy who was once told he was too small and not strong enough, he was the exact guy to finally shatter that 10-year dominance. It's a towering historical achievement, for sure.
Which brings us to Section 3, A Nation's Pride, World Cup Heroics.
Look, his legacy with the Croatian national team is completely unprecedented. Back in 2018, as their captain, he literally dragged his nation to their first ever World Cup final. He earned the Golden Ball as the absolute best player of the entire tournament. And then, just to prove it wasn't some fluke, 4 years later in 2022, he does it again. He inspires them to a remarkable third-place finish and takes home the bronze ball. We are talking about back-to-back masterclasses on the world stage from a country with a population smaller than a lot of major cities. Just incredible.
And that leads right into Section 4, the final whistle, an emotional goodbye.
40 years old. Seriously, at an age where most players have been happily retired for almost a decade, Modric was still the primary engine of the Croatian national team at the 2026 World Cup. His unparalleled vision, his immaculate passing, his elite football IQ, it all allowed him to completely defy the normal biological lifespan of a pro athlete. He was out there literally outthinking opponents who were half his age.
So when that final whistle blew against Portugal, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was a moment of profound reverence. Yes, he was embraced by his devastated teammates, but what's even more telling is that the opposition players specifically sought him out to pay their respects. Fans from both sides rose to their feet to applaud a true icon. It was just this palpable, historic farewell, a genuine moment of collective appreciation from the entire footballing world.
Modric's journey really leaves us with a blueprint for greatness that transcends the sport itself. He proves that raw talent must always be forged by relentless hard work and that an ironclad will can shatter the loudest of doubts. He taught us that determination is way stronger than physical limitations. And most importantly, he proved that no matter how small the nation you come from, your dreams can absolutely captivate and inspire the entire world.
Legends never die. Luka Modric may have played his final World Cup, but his legacy permanently alters how we view the underdog in modern sports. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question to ponder. In an era of football that's increasingly dominated by pure athleticism, endless data, and intense analytics, will we ever see another player conquer the world using nothing but pure vision, heart, and a little touch of magic? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.